As a Celtics fan myself, I gotta be honest, it's pretty good right now. The team is currently in the conference finals against the Cavaliers. Do I think they're gonna win that series? No, but can still enjoy the moment, of course. And now they have the #1 overall pick. It's a hell of a situation to be in, and we're gonna talk about some of the options that this team has with that #1 overall selection. Now we have to assume that the guy you select is Markelle Fultz. He seems to be a hell of a point guard who is just perfect in today's NBA. But I think he's going to be coming off the bench, at least when he first starts off, because of course you already have Isaiah Thomas, a guy who is up around 30 points a game, super efficient, and I mean he leads the Celtics offense, and they ask him to do quite a bit, and he is able to back it up. And I think that's the first real question, is how would Isaiah as well as Fultz play together? I mean, Isaiah claims that they can play on the same floor and do well. Well, I think the one thing is Fultz is a really good shooter, and I think as a result he can be used off-ball effectively, but he's also going to be playing in Brad Stevens' system, and Stevens is a hell of a play caller. He's got Isaiah Thomas already killing it by playing off-ball, and he'll have him coming across screens. He'll start from like the corner, and then he'll come up to the top of the key where he can immediately go into a pick and roll, and I think Stevens could get super creative with just how he uses these two offensive weapons on the floor at the same time. But of course, Fultz is going to be more than capable of handling the ball himself, and a lot of versatility can be used just between Isaiah Thomas and Markelle Fultz, and I do expect him to share a decent amount of the time together. Al Horford will also make Fultz's day easier because he's one of the best shooting as well as passing big guys in the NBA today. I mean, Fultz is going to have a luxury that a lot of top picks don't have, which is just there's a lot of really good talent and a good system going on. Now, if we look at Avery Bradley, who has grown as an offensive player, I think when he and Fultz are on the floor at the same time, you're going to see Markelle taking over the ball handling duties for them, and he'll have his more natural point guard position, and I think it could be a good fit. Whenever he's on the floor, I think he could have a place for this team. All that being said, are there going to be rookie mistakes? Of course there will be. And there are going to be times when perhaps he takes a shot that's not the best in the world, or he looks to force a pass that isn't really there, and next thing you know it's a turnover. I mean, he seems like a special player, but he's still a rookie at the end of the day, especially on a team that's looking to win right now. You know, it could cause some complications, and I'm not expecting it to just be this most seamless fit where he just walks in and is immediately like one of the best players in the NBA or anything. But I think the positives are going to far outweigh the negatives, of course, with Markelle Fultz. But let's also talk about just some of the young movements that the Celtics have here. Jaylen Brown seems like a really high potential player with his athleticism, and his spot shooting is actually decent, and he looks like he can be a hell of a defensive player. It's interesting that the Celtics have built themselves up to be a team that can make the conference finals, but then they also have the future building with Jaylen Brown, and now if they're going to be drafting Markelle Fultz #1 overall, it gives you a lot of versatility and a lot of freedom when it comes to building the present team, because it's like, well, we've got these young guys waiting in the wing. But I do have to talk about one complication that could come up from Fultz, and that's Marcus Smart. Smart definitely has value for this team as a defensive player, a playmaker, a guy who makes energy plays with offensive rebounds, diving on the floor. But all this being said, someone's got to be the odd man out, and it might be Smart. You know, he's found a role as an off-ball player for the Celtics, but I mean, it's tough to play 4 guys at the guard positions 20-plus minutes a night. And of course, Isaiah and Bradley are going to be playing. I don't know, if I'm on another team and I'm really looking for a point guard off the bench or something, maybe I call the Celtics up about Marcus Smart. But we can also talk about the potential of trading the pick, because, I mean, that's a discussion that's been had with the Celtics for a while now. And one guy who could be available is Jimmy Butler. Chicago Bulls are pretty stuck because they're a 41-win team that doesn't have a lot of young talent that seems like it can really grow into something, and Jimmy Butler is just kind of there for this team that's really going nowhere. If you traded him, if you traded the #1 overall pick and the chances for Markelle Fultz to Chicago for Jimmy Butler, and you decided we're just going to win right now. We're going to try to win right now. I mean, is that a real thing the Celtics could go for? I mean, yeah, the Butler is around 27 years old last time I checked. I think he'll be 28 when next season starts. I mean, then you're looking at him at 28, Al Horford at age 30, Isaiah Thomas is going to be 28 next season as well, I want to say. You're shortening your lifespan by a bit if you do that move. And the same thing can be said for Paul George. I mean, he's in a similar situation with the Pacers. I think the one difference would be Miles Turner. Seems like he can be a real player. Maybe he'll take off next season and Paul George decides that he wants to stay. But just given how their recent playoff series went and some of the comments he's made about I have to get the ball and other things he said about teammates, you know, Lance Stevenson being another one, it's looking like he's not loving his situation in Indiana. And of course, there's all the rumors about him wanting to go to the Lakers, and I think he could definitely be available in a trade as well, but similar to Butler, if you make that trade, sure, you are a better team right now, and maybe you have a chance against the Cleveland Cavaliers, maybe. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But you're also, once again, shortening how good you can really be here. I mean, I know you have another Brooklyn pick coming up, but, I mean, the Nets might actually be like a little better of a team then to where you might not get the #1 overall pick again. It's a risk. And let's just say they traded for Jimmy Butler, and they have him, and they're ready to go against Cleveland, and they're feeling good, and they think they have the overall team ready to dethrone LeBron and all that. Are you really good enough to beat LeBron even then? I mean, this guy is, like, not slowing down. He's having one of his best seasons in a few years. Like, yeah, Jimmy Butler's really good. Would he be able to take them to that level to match LeBron? I mean, I'm going to steer to the side of no, but some people might disagree on that one. The reality is, do you want to go through LeBron James, or do you want to wait a little bit and then attack him when he's more vulnerable? I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of going for it, but you got to be smart. You don't want to put all your eggs into the basket of winning now and you're still not good enough to win. And I don't know if it would be a sure thing that you get all these guys, you know, a Jimmy Butler or whoever, and you can still beat LeBron James. I mean, let's say LeBron has like 2 years left until he starts to show some decline. At that point, Isaiah's hitting like 30, Horford will be 32, Jimmy Butler would be approaching 30, similar thing for Paul George. Like, even if you had a chance at LeBron, how much longer do you really have with that team? Because we got to remember, not everyone is LeBron James where they're able to sustain themselves like at the age of 33 years old. You go with Markelle Fultz, you're good for the next decade plus. We have to remember, like, if he really is that good, then maybe his second season, he can already be like a huge piece. I mean, hell, he might be a huge piece for them next year, even if he's not the best player, and he could elevate himself to being the top dude on this team in like 3 seasons, whereas everybody else is still good enough. I don't know. It's a conversation that can go both ways pretty much.